Chronicles of a Play Therapist podcast is raw, unfiltered, and unapologetic, discussing mental health from a play therapy specialization, including trends, treatment approaches and techniques, theory, and the business of psychotherapy practice. Get ready to learn and play with your host, licensed clinical social worker and registered play therapist supervisor, Althea T. Simpson.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Chronicles of a Play Therapist podcast. I am your host, Althea T. Simpson, licensed clinical social worker and registered play therapist supervisor. I am the founder of Unicorn Life Play Therapy. I am coming in to talk to you today about play therapy with adults. There are so many questions. I see so many questions about whether or not you can use play therapy with adults. Traditionally, yes, play therapy was designed to work with children typically under the age of 11 or 12, depending on the school of thought. But play therapy, I have found to be very helpful with adults. Play therapy, expressive therapies, you can incorporate this with your work, in your work with adults. It takes the relationship of the therapist and the client. If you have a positive working relationship and a positive alliance with your clients who are adults, it is okay to incorporate play therapy and other expressive therapies in your therapeutic work. Clients, sometimes they may give you a side eye as an adult, but if you think about it, a lot of adults didn't get the opportunity to play. Especially if they were exposed to some sort of trauma as a child, or they were adultified as a child where they had put play on hold and helped their parents take care of their siblings or the household. So there are so many reasons why adults didn't get to play. So when you think about play and they come into you to get help for distressful situations and they want to know, why are you trying to get me to play? I'm coming here to talk, but talk therapy is not always effective for clients. Play therapy helps you connect that creative side of the brain to the cognitive side of the brain, and they eventually get to talking, but it's with less distress, less anxiety. And so traditional mental health treatment tends to primarily focus on the psychological conditions and the manifestations of those symptoms with mental illness, like depression, anxiety, stress, anger, fear, right? So positive psychology is something that I like to incorporate with adults and teenagers, adolescents, and adults in my play therapy practice. And it focuses on individual factors like motivation, positive thinking, happiness, and emotional resilience. And you can also sprinkle some forgiveness and affection and compassion into the mix with positive psychology. So positive psychology has made a shift. This is my opinion, my views and my opinions of how I've practiced play therapy or incorporated play therapy into my mental health practice over the years. And so positive psychology is something that I like to use with adults and adolescents. And it has, in my opinion, has made a shift in mental health treatment. And it offers a new way of looking into problems that present in therapeutic spaces. And I believe it opens the door for using play therapy with adults. Again, play therapy works best when a safe relationship is created between the therapist and the client. And the safety is not the space. The safety is that relationship with the client. So you have to have a good relationship or therapeutic bonding with your clients to introduce play therapy. Because again, for adults, I'm not coming here to play with you. I have some issues that I need to work. Well, let me show you how using creative therapies and expressive therapies can help you with that, right? So it's all in the approach and with the adaptations. You have to make sure that it's adapted to that client. It has to be adapted to your client. I use bubbles with adults. People would think bubbles for kids. Yes, a lot of the activities And things that I use with children, I adapted to use with adolescents and adults. But there are also different therapeutic and psychotherapeutic models that you have to have a foundational knowledge of to help make the connection to help your clients move through the therapeutic process. So play therapy as mental health professionals and as a mental health treatment modality can help adults gain greater self-awareness to understanding their values, their relationships, their beliefs. It can help them to think about their feelings. It can help them to process their experiences and also reflect on things that happen in their day-to-day life. Now, keep in mind that when adults play, it's with a specific goal in mind. And so those goals may be social bonding, which brings a sense of partnership and cohesion, some security, cultural expression, and a construction of or constructive thinking or concept of self. So, and then it may be emotional expression. And so that's the motivation behind the play. And it also can be under emotional expression. It could be a voluntary or unconscious therapeutic or cathartic experience that may take place. And that's the glory of play therapy. You all know, I love play therapy. I believe play therapy is magical. I've seen the benefits of it with clients. I've seen the benefits of it in my own life. Sometimes my clients want me to do activities with them when I introduce it. And then I'm like, whoa, that came up for me. Then I have to talk to my own therapist. So I know the therapeutic value of play therapy across the lifespan. I've witnessed it. I've been a part of it with my clients, a part of it for myself. So when you are adding expressive therapies or expressive activities and creative-based things into your play therapy practice or into your sessions with clients, it decreases that anxiety and that fear to allow that cathartic experience to take place. And especially the unconscious ones, you know, when a client say, you know what? Wow, I didn't know that was still bothering me. Sometimes I've been like, well, heck, I ain't know that this was bothering me. I say it in my head, not to the client, to myself. But then it's something that I process with my own therapist. So yes, I am a therapist with a therapist. That's a part of my self-care. But back to play with adults, it could be cognitive development, right? So the play contributes to some sort of learning or understanding for the adult client. And using metaphors can help with that, with those abstract concepts that would otherwise be difficult for them to comprehend. And then you look at constructive competition when adults play. The play is not for winning, it's to measure their skill, to measure their skill set, to strive to perform at their best. So it's not about winning or losing, it's about the development of self and to perform at my best. And it also kind of hones in on competitive intelligence. So those are some things to keep in mind when you are incorporating play with adults and other expressive activities like sand tray, art-based activities, music, Legos. Oh my God, I absolutely love Legos. I started using Legos about a little over a year ago when I became certified Lego serious play facilitator, which is actually a design strategy or methodology for businesses. But because it comes from a cognitive framework, it was so easy for me to implement that into therapeutic practice. And when I was going through the 5 days of training, I had to refocus myself on business because so many ideas was coming up on how I can use it in therapeutic practice, especially with adolescents and adults. So incorporating expressive activities is possible with adults. Again, it's about the relationship and knowing which framework and the approach to use and the appropriate adaptations. So as a mental health professional, I use introspection and self-reflection as tools in therapeutic settings with adults. It allows them to examine and reflect on their emotions and to foster that emotional intelligence that they need to help them solve distressing or problems in their life that bring them into therapeutic spaces or into therapy or mental health treatment. It's important for us as mental health professionals to help our clients increase awareness of their thoughts, particularly those that are overly negative or biased, right? And so an example of that would be, let's say an individual is feeling depressed because their mate is going out and they're going to be left home alone by themselves. For whatever reason, it could be a work function or hanging with the guys or hanging with the girls, whatever it is, the mate is not, well, you as the individual are not invited out with your mate, right? It could be a work event, whatever it is. But either way, it becomes lonely for them. And the loneliness is so piercing that they can't take it. They become upset, they become depressed, and even may start an argument when their mate comes back, right? It'll have them, all in their feelings and singing, "Kiki, do you love me?" Starting arguments because they couldn't take staying home alone or being by themselves. And then it's so many negative thoughts that come. They don't love me, or they know how I feel. They should have stayed home with me. No, they should not have. They go out and have fun, right? So in situations like this, I would validate the client's experience and would more than likely explore using some Socratic questioning. Or I would modify an automatic thought record utilizing an expressive activity like sand tray, an expressive drawing, or Legos. And so another way I would probably work with this person is to have them ask questions about themselves, right? Incorporate this questioning that this is a simple exercise to have clients ask questions about themselves, but you would have them to write those questions down. And then you would have them to answer those questions, kind of like a therapeutic journaling almost. And I would then direct them to ask about, I would say, ask about yourself. Ask about your past, your present, your future. But I would ask them to stick to questions and answers that are positive, that are insightful, and that are motivating to them, because the goal is not for them to stay in that negative presentation, but to move to more of a positive presentation, right? So I would caution them to not try to come up with the right answers, but encouraging them to be as creative as possible and include their hopes and their dreams. The more detailed the client is with their questioning and answers provides more of an opportunity for them to dig into some valuable self-reflection. So then I would have them create that representation from those questions that they answered about themselves. Again, using sand tray, expressive drawings or art, Play-Doh, modeling clay, Lego, sand tray, whatever. Create that model. And then I would process that because the information is going to come out of the processing. And there are a number of processing questions that you can ask, but I would process based on what the client gives me from their model that they created or from their sand tray that they created. So, and another activity that I enjoy using with adults is the soul collage. It's a creative, fun tool. It's easy, it's artful, and it's expressive. And it looks at self-expression, and it was developed by Cena B. Frost. I believe that it's so important to give credit to people when we use their work. So the soul collage, I found it doing a search on the internet a couple years ago when I created my first play therapy training for adults, which was back in 2018, I think. I was trying to find activities and putting the research together so I can explain to people that this is beneficial and there is some research about the benefits of play therapy with adults, right? And so I came across Cena B. Frost's activity, Soul Collage, and I incorporated that into my training. And it's okay to use other people's work, give them credit. It's okay to modify it. Everything may not be for that client. So you have to use your gut to modify these things to fit for your client. It's okay to be creative, right? It's okay to use your gut. There have been times that I've come up with my own activities or modified activities that, there are a wealth of books and information on the internet that you can find, but you have to have a foundation for using these things. And I think that's a lot of mistakes that people make, is that they find all of these expressive activities, play therapy activities, and they start using them with clients, but you don't know the theoretical foundation for why you're using it. You just think it's cool. And I think one of the worst activities not the worst activity, because I think it's a great activity, but I see people use it so harmfully, is that inside-outside face. First off, you have to make sure that your client is in a place to do that, a place emotionally to do that activity because of what will come out of it. But you're just trying to find play therapy activities or expressive activities without investing in learning the reason you're using it and the theoretical foundations. So as long as you need the theoretical foundations for using play therapy and other expressive therapies with clients. But Soul Collage, Cena B. Frost, I absolutely love this activity. It's using intuition and imagination. Have your clients create their own deck of collage cards, where each card reflects a different aspect of who they are. The cards can be made from simple materials like magazines, magazine images. You need scissors, glue. I like using cardstock. And then sometimes we will, what do you call that plastic thing where you put plastic in? Y'all know what I'm talking about. I have the machine. I can't even think of it. But anyway, to protect it, we would put the plastic over it and make it into a real deck of cards. So, and this practice, it helps to honor. What I love about it is that it helps client to honor their personal journey while promoting their personal growth and self-acceptance. So again, there are a lot of activities that can be found in books and on the internet, but if you don't have a theoretical foundation or make those connections to why you're using it with clients, and you just see something because, I need to do something with a client, there's a difference between playing in therapy and utilizing play therapy. And you need some level of training to do that, especially to learn the history of play therapy and to learn the different treatment modalities that come along with play therapy. But it's great. I love it. It's magical. Heck, my tagline is play therapy is magical, because I know the therapeutic powers of play and the benefits to take clients from hurt to healed, right? So then you can teach your client to use what questions instead of why questions. And because the what questions will help them get to the root of their stress, their anxiety, their sadness, or whatever it is that's bringing them to therapy. And then you can kick it into problem solving. Why questions keep them in that cycle of that sadness, that stress, ruminating over thoughts. So, and that is how I utilize play therapy with adults. Well, I am at the end of today's Play Therapy Informational Educational Podcast. I am your host, Althea T. Simpson, licensed clinical social worker and registered play therapist supervisor. Thanks for playing, and until next time, play well.
Chronicles of a Play Therapist is sponsored by Unicorn Life Play Therapy Academy, where play therapy is magical. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe in your favorite podcast app and follow us on YouTube. Chronicles of a Play Therapist is intellectual property of Althea T. Simpson. All rights reserved.